when you're saying that, the mosque, it's important for the audience to see this. Rob, if you want to pull this up, the Iranian government themselves have reported that 61 mosques were torched in Tehran alone during the unrest. Now,
just
keep in mind,
one city.
This is just one city. This is not the entire country. This is just one city, and you're seeing these pictures. Now, imagine what it is across the country. The numbers you see are staggering. So there's credibility to what you're talking about. But again, going back to it, since 79 till today, why has the regime been able to hold so much control and the Iranian people haven't been able to go back to being free again?
I'd like to look at this problem from 35,000 high. I want to compare Christianity with Islam. Christianity is a religion that's 2,000 years old. Islam is a religion that is only 1,400 years old. So you can say that Islam is 600 years younger than Christianity. When did Christianity go through Reformation? 600 years ago, right? So it seems to me like when religions become 1,400 to 1,500 years old, they come out of adolescence and they become mature. They realize that because of the fact that religion is a base of psychological comfort for the masses, it doesn't mean that they're entitled to political power. You know that Reformation in Europe didn't just happen. It happened after the 30-year wars, after this, things much worse than what's happening in the Middle East happened in Europe. The Catholic Pope was ruling Europe with iron fist, just like Ayatollah Khomeini and Khamenei in Iran. They were torturing people, they were massacring, burning people at stake, and all of that. And all of that atrocity that was done in the name of God, but using the political power, eventually brought Reformation into the church itself, and that's what Martin Luther did, and the rest is really history. So I think that Islam also has arrived at a point that it became a good candidate for political power. Iranian Revolution was the birth prank of Reformation in Islam. In my opinion, Iranian Revolution was inevitable, regardless of who did it, regardless of the participation of, regardless of Guadeloupe, regardless of the American position on it. All of that had a little part in it, but the story is much bigger than 1979 and 1357, bigger than Ayatollah Khomeini, bigger than Khamenei, bigger than all of those people. There is a force that in an evolutionary manner for 1,400 years have been brewing, just like Christianity in Europe, and eventually arrives at a maturation that has to basically disqualify itself from political power. That's what happened in Europe. Eventually, Christianity became a matter of personal belief, and political power became decoupled from religion, right? What we call separation of church and state. Where do you think these people came up with this idea of separation of church and state? Separation of church and state in Europe became inevitable. Otherwise, Europe would have been burning for the following 600 years. And Europeans decided enough is enough. And the only way, the only culprit they found to stop the burning and stop the mayhem in Europe was separation of church and state. Decouple the political power from the personal conviction that we call religion. Islam is going through the same maturation, the same adolescence, the same reformation in the Middle East, and it's been going on for the last 47 years. You're asking us why Islamic Republic is lasting so long. I will ask you the exact opposite question. Actually, reformation in the world of Islam is happening much faster than it happened in Christianity. Historically, after Islam invaded Iran and conquered Iran and ransacked Iran, for 200 years, the silence of 200 years that prevailed Iran, the glorious Persian Empire that was in existence for 1,000 years prior to the invasion of Islam, for 200 years, Iranians were forbid of practicing their own religion of Zoroastrianism and speaking the language of Farsi until 2 centuries after this invasion, Iranians began to revolt against the Arab conquerors. And it took us from 200 years after invasion of Islam till 1979 before Islam became a candidate for political power in the modern world. And the fact that Iranians not only didn't speak Arabic, they also invented their own branch of Islam called Shiites. So invention of Shiites was a sign of revolt by Iranian people against the Arab conquerors whose religion was Sunni Islam. Okay? So this is a very long historic event that's been brewing in that part of the world for 1400 years. And it manifested itself in the 1979 revolution. But prior to that, I mean, something that we refer to as the golden age of Islam between 9th century to 12th century, where all the glorious things happened in Islam, where Baghdad was the center of scientific. Baghdad was today's Silicon Valley and today's Paris. You know, all the philosophers, all the mathematicians, all the astronomers. You know that, you know, if you study astronomy, if you look at the map of the stars, a vast majority of the stars' names are Arabic. All the astronomers and astrophysicists know that. And in that golden age of Islam was because Islam was going through the same evolutionary path that I told you Christianity also did independently. And Iranians played a huge role in that 300 years, so-called the golden age of Islam. And even today, Iranians and Iran are playing a huge role in bringing reformation in Iran and in the world of Islam. Iranian revolution was an outcry for reformation that needed to happen in the world of Islam. Unfortunately, we had to pay the price for it. Iran is the only country in the history of mankind which is going through two revolutions at the same time. Revolution of reforming Islam and revolution of bringing democracy into the Islamic world. So a political revolution in parallel with a religious revolution. No country has ever done that at the same time. Germany did it not at the same time, about 100 years apart. And look how sweetly Germany was rewarded. Germany is the beating heart of the European economy. Not only beating heart of the European economy, but also all the Enlightenment movement, Kant, Montesquieu, and all of these people, John Stuart Mill, all of these guys who came up with the idea of democracy and separation of church and state, they basically came from Germany. So Germany had the same similar achievement as we did, except that they did it almost 100 years apart. Iranians are doomed to do both of these things at the same time. This is, in my opinion, one of the reasons, probably the only reason, that's why this regime has lasted this long. And at the end of this regime, whether it happens next week or next month, courtesy of President Trump, I think Iran is going to achieve something historic, monumental. Reform Islam and establish a democratic society within the world of Islam, which is not in conflict with the personal conviction of people, which is religion.
Let me ask you this on this question. So the two revolutions that you're saying are happening at the same time, is it by the same group or two different groups?
Two different groups.
So
Completely.
can you explain both groups that
Yes.
are causing a revolution?
So the so-called reformists in Iran, they are doing the job of reformation of Islam. They are so attached to Islam and their conviction that they at the same time that they like democracy and they would like to make Iran a democratic society, but they don't want to abandon their religion. So those people will eventually look at the religion and see the part of the religion, the verses of Quran, which is incompatible with today's world, and they throw them out, or they kind of leave them silent, verses of Quran, and take the rest of Quran, the part that's not really incompatible with modern world, and call that their religion, and they create a religion very similar to Protestantism, right? And then the rest of the society, which sees this amazing force, economic force, political force, environmental force that is basically destroying Iran, the rest of the society will go down the path of democratization of Iran. And I think I can see that these two paths are happening at the same time. Sometimes they're helping each other. Sometimes, unfortunately, they're hurting each other. But eventually, they have no way of, other than cooperating with each other and making Iran the first country in the Islamic world that brings true democracy, that becomes a role model for the rest of the Middle East and Islamic world.
When we set out to create a shoe that blends comfort, function, and luxury, We had the choice to make it fast. We had the choice to make it cheap. We chose neither. Instead, we chose Tuscany, Italy. We chose true Italian craftsmanship, each pair touched by 50 skilled hands. We chose patience, spending 2 years perfecting every detail, and we chose the finest quality at every step. Introducing the Future Looks Bright collection. Not rushed, not disposable, not ordinary. Rather, intentional, luxurious, timeless. If you enjoyed this video, you want to watch more videos like this, click here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click here.